if you could, just kind of tell me a little bit this new space that the Occupy Carbondale movement's moving into and what you guys are going to be doing from here on out.
Okay. Well, so this space is the Independent Media Center, and so it was formed, I don't know how many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, as one of sort of many independent media centers which happened around the country, and they all sprang up in the wake of the sort of anti-globalization protests in Seattle. And so it was originally founded as a space where people could generate their own sort of underground media, reporting, interviews with people from the ground, and sort of undercut the corporate-sponsored media. But for the last 2 years, this building has kind of lost focus of that purpose, or the people that were involved in initially haven't been keeping it up in the same way. And so it was offered to us as a place where we could organize out of for the winter as a winter headquarters, because having a full-time occupation in Carbondale didn't seem to be working the way that we wanted it to. You know, in New York City and in other cities, there's just an abundance of people that can be there all the time and be devoting themselves to it. Here, it fell on to a few people who, you know, for one reason or another didn't have jobs or were homeless or something like that. It became their responsibility to sort of watch and tend to the occupation there, while other people were participating as much as they could, but also had other obligations. And so the idea of moving into an indoor space was to like alleviate that stress and tension there, where, you know, to alleviate the sense of sort of obligation that was on people to attend to it. So we see it hopefully as being a place that we can organize sort of directed actions out of, rather than having the sort of 24-hour presence. So we'll hopefully be doing marches a few times a week, plotting events, and you know, mini occupations here and there in order to sort of keep the message out for the winter. And then come spring, if we want to have a full-time occupation again, we'll hopefully have sort of developed as a community in a way that we can do that better.
Yeah. So this doesn't have anything with the university wanting you guys to leave or anything like that?
No, not at all. I mean, we pretty much stood our ground against the university. I mean, one aspect of being on campus was to show solidarity with the union efforts. So we think, so we wanted to stick around until the union efforts were settled. And so we're kind of happy with the way that happened, you know.
Yeah. Do you think that it kind of maybe dilutes your guys' message to not be a visible presence like you had been before, like right there? Do you think that maybe has hurt you guys, or does?
Well, you know, there's a vigorous debate going on about that within, you know, our group, and some people are disappointed about that. The question, I mean, the occupation is a tactic, right? And it's a tactic, and it's a novel tactic that's been, you know, inherited from the Arab Spring and things like that, and it can be very effective, and I have high hopes for it being effective. But those of us that are interested in carrying forth like the essence of the movement, which is a movement about, you know, direct democracy, economic and social justice, and an attempt to form a resistance against, you know, a system that's destroying lives and destroying the ecology. The question is how central to that effort is holding signs and being visible in that way. I mean, maybe we can be visible in more like strategic and effective ways without necessarily having a full-time occupation. But of course, I mean, the people that are interested in that and do think that that's an important part of the movement, like I've been and other people are encouraging them, like, yeah, do that. If that's what you think needs to be done, then go out there and do that, and we'll support you materially in any way we can. But, you know, people have kids, people have jobs and responsibilities that they're not yet, or not, for whatever reason, not interested in giving up, you know. So that's it. That's, I think, kind of, and the way that we responded to it, I think, is kind of affirmative of the kind of thing that we're looking for. That is, we're going to make the decisions based on the needs of the group, you know, by consensus.
What do you think that locally the Occupy Carbondale movement has accomplished so far? Or do you think that's accomplished anything?
That's a good question. I mean,
if it's brought a degree of awareness.
Yeah.
The Occupy movement, you know, that's, you're talking about an Occupy movement.